happy for them. So proud of them. I love these guys.
Maybe it's the Coors Light talking, but today has been really special. A love story, really.
I love you guys!
Between a hockey team and its city. When words failed, cheers spoke plenty.
Sorry that I lost my ability to speak any English after the parade.
Speaking of English, I'm not sure which language Dr. Max is speaking about the psychology of being a sports fan.
What is probably happening in Tampa Bay is a whole lot of corfing.
And we'll explain the weather alert that seemed to target Avs fans. Always. I know. You'll be watching my show because this is next. What a day for Denver. What a day for Colorado. An estimated 500,000 Avs fans right in the heart of the city, filling the streets and Civic Center Park to see that Colorado sun gleam off the Stanley Cup today. All those people and no apparent trouble. Not a single arrest, according to Denver police. As the crowds crammed up close to the parade route and the rally stage, our Marshall Zellinger, always looking for a different view to show you, decided to get climbing. Marshall?
Well, Kyle, I mean, if you were going to get up early and avoid work, if you're going to avoid work, why get up early? But you had to get up early to get a good spot for the parade. Here at 17th and Broadway, these spots on the sidewalk were filling up at 8:30 in the morning. At the same time, the building here, 1670 Broadway, the workers who work here and couldn't get off today, they were filling in to work, and it was a pretty good view for the workers on the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th floor Taylor Anderson law firm. To get a good view of the 2022 Stanley Cup Champs Parade, you got to get on the sidewalk before business hours.
Looks like a lot of people hustling and bustling this morning.
Then again, the business world never skips a beat.
Sounds like they got some drums going on out there too. Pretty clearly from all the way up here you can hear the drums going off.
Chris Soper did not have to call in sick today.
That's why the screens are set up here, so I can hide behind them and it looks like I'm working.
This attorney did not object to being in his 9th floor office during the parade.
Pretty much I can just roll right on over and see the parade from my office chair, so.
They're making exceptions for the whole office to wear Avs gear, and this is one of my Avs gear, I guess you could say.
Executive Assistant Devon Ruerts would have preferred to be on the street.
I'm a short person, so unless I would be in the front, I wouldn't really be able to see much.
Good thing the law firm's conference room looks straight down the parade route on 17th and Broadway.
I feel very tall, like a bird without the wings.
If this was the bird's eye view for the parade, this was the perch for the rally.
So it's pretty cool to be able to come up and see it from this vantage point, to be able to feel the energy, but not be in the crowd.
I mean, if you're in the back anyway, might as well be in the back with a view.
It's really special for people who work here. It's one of the perks of working here.
The state capitol dome tours were still an option during the rally.
In fact, we've had pretty light tours today. I don't think many people who were interested in the history of the Capitol braved this crowd just for that, but we've definitely had lots of Avs fans who wanted to come up and take a peek. So.
This is incredible. The Stanley Cup is right down there.
At this point, Chris isn't even pretending to work. Then again, he's got a good defense.
Precious moment, you gotta enjoy it.
You know, from those windows, the Stanley Cup itself, when it finally drove by, looks about this size. So it's not as impressive, but the perks, you didn't have to get up early, you're still getting paid, accessible bathrooms, and you didn't get wet, Kyle.
You know what? I feel like the people who want to fill downtown office space have finally figured out the solution. You just need to throw a parade 5 days a week. People will come back downtown.
Or yearly championships by our sports teams, and then it gets a bit of a perk also.
Yeah, it was a special day, and you provided us with a number of incredible views throughout the morning. Marshall, thank you. I know that a lot of you were really worried about how Tampa Bay Lightning fans were holding up today. You were not concerned. Well, anyway, they were in their feelings. It's the psychology of being a sports fan. Our Tom Cole talked about it with Dr. Max Wattel.
Of course it's a big deal.
Fan or not, having a championship here puts people in a good mood.
It's something to celebrate. It's something that can bring the whole community together. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Max Wattel, a master of the mind.
This was not a hockey fight. I ran into a door.
A mind on the mend. knows the psychological impact the Avs victory has on a city. 25 years in the mental health field, all to say people here are burging.
Burging.
Burging?
It's a social psychological phenomenon called burging, basking in reflected glory. We feel some sort of connection to that because they're our team.
Well, that sounds better than corfing.
Corfing.
Corfing?
Corfing, cutting off reflected failure. So Tampa Bay fans are corfing all over the place probably right now.
Let's go! Let's go!
Whatever you want to call it.
High-fiving them, that's a dopamine rush. That's like an instant antidepressant.
Enjoy it. Surround yourself with it.
It almost can feel like a mystical experience where everybody there is just so excited, and then you get wrapped up in everybody else's excitement.
Burge away, Avalanche fans.
In general, this kind of thing doesn't really last that long.
You never know when Lord Stanley will return.
What a shot there at the end there with the cup lifted. I believe that was our Brian Olsen behind the lens. Dr. Mack said the symptoms of the burging could actually stick around for an unusual period of time in this instance because, as you well know, it's going to be hot Stanley summer around here. The cup's going to be all over the state. This trip, that trip, those stories, photos and videos, and the feeling that they bring back, the burging will continue. So we cannot say for certain what exactly Erik Johnson and Gabriel Landeskog were looking at on their phones at this moment, but this is precisely when that emergency alert buzzed our phones today, 12:52 p.m., warning individuals attending the Avs celebrations in downtown Denver are urged to take shelter immediately. Here's the thing, meteorologist Chris Bianchi tells us the worst storm threats were gone from the area by then. They were like 5-10 minutes past downtown when that phone alert told people to take cover. There were lightning strikes recorded 13 miles from the celebrations at 12:34 and then 8 miles away at 12:43. The National Weather Service says one lightning strike was recorded over the southeast part of Denver at 12:50. So, just like in Game 6, the lightning threatened but could not stop the Avs. Denver's Office of Emergency Management told us later today they decided to be cautious about this and they sent out the alert after talking with the National Weather Service and the Department of Public Safety. National Weather Service tells us they hit that go button about 10 minutes before people got the alert, but apparently there was some turnaround time for emergency management getting out to the phones. Now, if I was the doubting type, the cynical type, I might observe that it was also a really good way to get the crowd to clear out quickly at the end of the rally. Colorado Democrats had few high-profile races on primary night. One of the few, though, took until tonight to reach its conclusion. It's a victory in the State House's 6th District for the progressive candidate Elizabeth Epps over the business-backed Katie March. Epps trailed slightly as votes were counted late on election night. With nearly every vote counted now, Epps is up 1,000 votes. This race is over. March called to concede tonight. There was a whole lot of money burned by big business interests intent on keeping Epps' activist voice out of the state legislature. This is not really going to be a general election race. This is a blue district. Republicans are going to put somebody up who's not really going to campaign, they say. The Supreme Court changed America again today, this time limiting the EPA's ability to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from existing power plants. This now leaves environmental decisions on those things to individual states. Tricky, considering how air and water cross state lines. Anusha Roy looks at what states like Colorado, those interested in protecting the environment, can do now in this new landscape.
Always excited to share her work, Grace Rink leads the Climate Action Office for Denver.
I couldn't do this work if I didn't have hope.
The city is spending millions on energy-efficient heating, cooling, e-bikes, making solar panels more affordable. Then the Supreme Court announced its newest ruling.
It has said that if the EPA is to regulate greenhouse gas emissions, then Congress needs to specifically state that by amending the Clean Air Act. I don't think any of us have a lot of faith in Congress to do that right now or in the foreseeable future.
Rink says this was a blow.
The work that we're doing at the local level is not impacted by that ruling. However, our ability to achieve our ultimate goal of zero emissions by 2040 is definitely in jeopardy.
But was also resoundingly confident.
This isn't the end. This is definitely not the end.
What she did say is the movement to curtail climate change will look different. With a national response eroded, states, counties, cities, grassroots movements will bear more responsibility. But climate change doesn't happen in a vacuum, and this ruling is opening up a fractured response across the country.
It will be difficult for the state of Colorado.
George Marlin is with the Colorado Communities for Climate Action, representing 39 local governments across the state.
What we can do is be a lab. What we can do is be an example. We can innovate and we can show the rest of the nation how to go about this in the right way.
We heard similar words from the Western Slope Oil and Gas Association that Colorado companies will keep working to do things the right way.
It's not a either or, it's a how can we do it all together.
Chelsea Mira with the association said the ruling helps them strike a balance.
Our members are very excited
between making natural gas affordable while curbing emissions and continuing to work on technology improvements.
You see a social license to operate, right? You have to do the right thing. We all live, work, and play here, so we want clean air, clean water.
Everyone that I talked to said that they are now all looking to the state. Those working on climate change mitigation said they're hoping state agencies will double down on reducing greenhouse gas emissions to fill that gap left by this ruling. The oil and gas industry, Kyle, said that they're waiting now to see how the state's going to interpret their role when it comes to emission standards.
We knew, Anusha, that the court was going to rule on this, so I'm sure the state has been considering its options, but it would surprise me if they came out today and said, here's our plan.
Yeah, no, and I definitely did not hear that. We reached out to a whole bunch of people. The only response I got was a statement from the governor saying, yes, things are a lot more complicated now, but it reinforces how important the state's role is in all of this, that they're still working towards their climate mitigation efforts and goals, and that has not changed here.
Anusha, thank you. 6 months after the Marshall Fire, emergency alerts are still hit or miss around the state. Rain is messing with the rainbow gathering. They wanted nature. They're getting it. Scientists in Colorado are studying snails to get an idea of how our environment worked 100 years ago.
They are basically the next best thing to having a time machine.
I should mention, they're super old snails. Next. So they want to commune with Mother Nature in the woods, but she's like, no. Washed out roads are now complicating the Rainbow family's 50th anniversary party up in far northwest Colorado. The largest crowds of these counterculture folks are expected to come in over the holiday weekend. They're all flocking to the Adams Park area of Routt County right now. But Moffat County has closed down its road which leads into the area. The county says that rain has washed it out. Moffat County says there are other routes into the forest there, just not through their county. Go a different way. Also, there have been cows on the road, so there's that.
Certainly soggy the past couple of days, and more rain, more monsoonal moisture on the way. This is our vantage point across downtown Denver, looking off to the east, mostly cloudy skies. We whip the camera around off to the west. A nice little break. It should be a beautiful sunset. I just put on the lightning tracker, more than 400 strikes, a lot of those across far northwestern Colorado and then into southern Colorado too. We'll zoom in here to the metro area. Most of the showers staying just to the south of the Denver area as they push off to the eastern plains tonight. Early tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., you wake up to a bit of sunshine on your Friday. 2-3 o'clock, here we go again. Thunderstorms rolling off the foothills into the metro area. Pretty typical timing. These storms will be flying across the eastern plains late tomorrow evening, and that's where we potentially will see a couple of them turn severe. Just a marginal threat across the eastern plains into Kansas and Nebraska. Temperatures still on the cooler side. Soak it in while you can. The 80s felt so good today. They'll feel good tomorrow. Some 60s and 70s up in the mountains. And then look at this. Yeah, the heat's on as we look ahead toward the holiday weekend. Isolated storms for us on Sunday, and right now the 4th of July, hot and dry at 95 in Denver.
It was 6 months ago tonight that we were seeing neighborhoods in Louisville and Superior burn. And as early as that night, we heard from survivors asking why they didn't get more warning time to evacuate. We know that Boulder County had access to a tool that would have reached more cell phones that day. It just had not been set up and activated. The county has since sent its first wireless emergency alert in April. They had some issues in that alert with what's called bleed over, people getting the alert when they're not supposed to be in the area, basically extra people. All said and done, it worked pretty much as intended. The State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management says there are still 15 Colorado counties that cannot send out one of those WIA alerts on their own right now. The state can send those alerts on the county's behalf. Scientists are learning about the world around us by studying snail guts.
So we have snails collected from 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, and now.
Slow, old, and apparently fascinating. Who knew? Next. Some people hold on to the oddest things for the longest time. Snails, for instance. Century-old snails kept around at CU Boulder. Scientists want to study their insides.
Maybe if you see snails, you see the slime, you think, oh, it's gross, but I think they're very cute, personally.
They're everywhere. They're really important to the ecosystem.
And what you see here are all preserved specimens in ethanol, mostly. Yeah, so these are the snails we study. So what we study is the bacteria that are living inside snails.
We wanted to see if we could take animals that had been preserved in our museum for over 100 years and get valuable microbiome information out of them.
So by studying the snails, it can give us a hint about what's happening in the environment and how the things we do as humans are impacting our local environment.
You basically dissect a little piece of their gut out, and then you extract DNA from it. I really love working with museum specimens. They are basically the next best thing to having a time machine.
So we have snails collected from 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, and now.
And so based on that, we could look at different factors of climate, like we could look at how hot or dry it was when this specimen was collected.
So that really, to me, is like a time machine. Now you can really travel back and see all kinds of things in the past and what kind of bacteria are living on or in them and how they're being impacted by the environment, by the climate, by all kinds of factors.
I just think this opens a door to unlimited possibilities. I'm really excited to see where it goes.
The snails seem excited too, most of them. Hey, it's good to be back. Felt like a long time away. Appreciated your feedback tonight, so you'll get the final word next. Feedback tonight about the Avs' own behavior at the parade and rally. Amy saying, am I the only parent out there wondering why the Avs management didn't say no drinking for the team during the parade? Misha says, so disappointed the Avalanche captain dropped 3 F-bombs because the crowd included young people. I think that's fair. I certainly think those are things that parents can talk about with their kids. I also think, though, those are kind of things that you might expect at a hockey championship parade, you know? I mean, like, if we were at Mass and the priest crushed a tall boy and then dropped an F-bomb, that would be unexpected given the scene that we're in. At a hockey championship parade, I don't know. I'm just happy for no arrests. Go Avs, go. See you next time.